most important, and or the things that Anna wrote down. A lot of quotes, which I'm not gonna say about myself because they're embarrassing the second time. Here's the main thing. The main thing is you gotta hold yourself in a strong way that's still loose. The same way you do when you do anything. Anytime you move around or you pick stuff up, you use the muscles you need to make things happen and not the extra ones, right? You don't, when you pick up something, you don't like tense everything. You just use the muscles you need to make that happen, and it's really natural. And if you can try to think about doing stuff that way, I think it's makes everyone happier. Oh, for the followers, we talked a lot about how when we swing out, instead of trying to move as one piece, like this, I didn't say you did, as one piece, I try to think about moving in parts. I start from here, I move that way, and then I let this fill it out. This my hips, and then the same thing happens here, where I let that fill it out, and it happens on rock steps too. You start from one spot and you move a little bit. We did talk about depending on how you're shaped. Like I'm all down here. Don't have a lot happening up here. So I don't move from here as much, I move from there. It just depends on who you are and how you're shaped and how you move. For the leaders are doing the same thing. They're just gonna do it probably a little bit less through the back of their hips and a little bit more through the sides normally. So we talked to the leaders about that fencing thing. Do you wanna do it facing this way and I'll do it facing that way? Or we talked about going 1, 2, 3, and then whack, boom, 5, right? And using that 5 to really turn around and go somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 5, push back, dot, dot, dot. And just trying to make that 5 as solid as possible so that you can push back quickly without that. We talked about how I don't believe in frame, just control. So making sure that anything you do, you can control your arms, but you don't have to put yourself in a box.
We talked about leads actually paying attention to your follows and reacting to that as though there's another sentient being involved in the dance.
Depends on who you're dancing with, really, though. Let's be real. Sorry, that was provoking. We also just talked about, and we're going to touch on this more during the weekend, but we talked about how Brian does have control over where I go, but he doesn't always have control over how I go there. If he's being really specific, I'm going to follow really specifically, and if he's being a little bit more open, I'm going to follow a little bit more open, which means I'm going to make other choices, like how far I move, and mostly the big one is how much I let this arm go out, right? I'm in control of this arm. I'm going to go that way, but I'm going to leave myself as many options as possible. And we talked about how leaving this a little bit closer to you and then opening up is the way to be strong and in control versus just this or always that, yeah? Oh, then the next thing we talked about that was important was not having our hands in like this, but always having them out to the side, like there's a little bit of air under your arm, so that when Brian pulls me in, he pulls straight back, and that leads me straight at him, versus pulling me in that way, where you get this thing where you kind of run around each other. And that's also how you get a boob in your hand. So that one's freebie, by the way. Nobody likes that.
Gentlemen, now you know how to do that. If you do that, we will have words.
If anyone touches you in a way that you feel is inappropriate, you're allowed to karate chop them.
Right in the neck.
I didn't say that. I didn't say all that. I think that was a lot of what we talked about. The other thing was trying to never make this shape. Always trying to make a shape where we're favoring the leg, and one is in or one is out. Right? This always looks better than this. Yeah? Even when we're facing each other, I still try to do that because that still looks nicer than this. It also makes me more balanced because if Brian pulls me and I don't want to go somewhere, I can stop myself or I can use that to propel myself. But when I'm here, I don't have a lot of choice. If he pulls me at all, I'm going to fall down. Yeah, and I'm going to have to go there. I can't actually stop myself and control it. I think that was most of it. Do you have anything else you want me to add? No. I'm not going to say my own quotes, but yeah. And then you guys did a super good job, and I was proud of you.